Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, Control Your IT Costs with Asset Management. My name is Mary Kay Peterson and I am the co-chapter leader of the Vivint HP Service Management SIG. Next slide, please. Today's webinar is brought to us by HP. While we wait for everyone to log in, I'd like to make a few announcements. HP Discover is coming up in Las Vegas on June 11th through the 13th. At the HP Discover, thousands of IT executives, managers, architects, engineers, and solution experts from around the world will be there exploring technology developments, strategies, and best practices. There are literally hundreds of business and technical sessions. To get the best possible conference rate, use the code VIVIT when you sign up. And you'll also be entered into 5 drawings for a free 2014 pass. Vivint is also hosting some advanced pre-conference training at HP Discover. This is a great opportunity to dive deep and develop professionally. Training will be held on June 11th. There are 10 courses to choose from, but the one most relevant for today's group is likely UCMDB version 10, what's new in advanced UCMDB discovery script development using UCMDB web services. The cost per training is only $99 thanks to our sponsors. Vivint's advanced training course can be added to your new or existing HP Discover registration account. Okay, I think most people have had a chance to join us. It's always fun to present this slide. We have prize drawings. There are 2 of them. The first drawing will be for those who registered for this event and chose to share their details so we know who you are. The second drawing will be held from everyone who's on the line today. Both drawings will take place after the webinar. The winners will be notified via email, so watch your inbox, and thank you for joining us. Today's session is recorded and will be posted on the Vivint website. The recording will be accessible by all Vivint members, and an email will be sent out following today's session with details on how to get there. Lastly, we'll hold a Q&A session the last 30 minutes, so you can type your questions into the question pane on the GoToMeeting webinar panel, and we'll answer at the end. Today's speakers are, first of all, Vesna Sorabchi, who is Product Marketing Manager for HP Software. We also have Nicholas Rousseau, a Senior Product Manager with HP Software. And lastly, Danielle Galecki, who's a Product Line Manager for Asset Manager, also from HP Software. And I'll turn over the reins to Vesna.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As Mary Kay told you already, my name is Vesna Soraj. I'm Product Marketing Manager here at HP Software, focusing on asset management solution. Let me first start with the agenda. You realize the webinar today will have 3 parts, and I will first talk a little bit about software asset management. I want to talk about the software license challenges that every organization is facing today, and in that regard present the business case for software asset management. I want to explain what software asset management is, introduce HP SAM solution, and also briefly discuss HP's new service called Software Asset Insight. Let's start by talking about software asset management. Today, vendor audits continue to increase in frequency. Maybe you know that Gartner is publishing annually a number or percentage of organizations that have been audited in a previous year. In September 2012, they reported that already 65 of organizations have been audited by at least 1 vendor. And I'm expecting that September this year, this number again will be higher. On the right side here on this slide, I have several examples of how costly and disruptive impact license incompliance can have for the organization. No organization wants that their problems are announced to the whole world. But as you know, it is if you try to search on internet, it's very, very easy to find such cases. That means it's not only financial damage. We can see that there is a lot of damage on the reputation of the organization. In most cases, vendors allow only 5% tolerance of incompliance. Therefore, it's very important that every organization is confident and can answer the question about own license compliance. Not only are vendor audits on the increase, software costs are increasing every year as well. Again, here Gartner predicts that by next year, and we have about 6-7 months, that software spend is going to increase by additional 25%. In fact, the typical organization spends more on license than they need, and this is really affecting organizational ability to decrease the overall costs of IT. Let's take a look at the main drivers for software asset management. What are they? Well, 5 are the most important. A couple of these I mentioned already, vendor audits and the overspend on software. Let's briefly have a look at each of these 5. Software costs too high. A so-called overcompliance and overspending on software really can happen easily if the organization allows decentralized procurement, because then it's very, very difficult to know who purchased the software, why, who is using software. If the organization doesn't measure the usage, that means, well, we have the software, we assign the licenses, but we really don't know whether users really use or need the licenses. Another common case is that still often licenses are not used from the retired machines. Next is complex licensing rules. Probably this is one of the main root causes that so many companies struggle with software compliance. License agreements, contracts contain complex terms and conditions of usage. Very often these are written in a very ambiguous language. License rules, license types, their schemas differ from vendor to vendor, differ among products from the same vendor. Vendors also keep changing licensing terms and conditions. Software asset management therefore involves acquiring, sorting, analyzing, interpreting a large amount of data. And this is what makes ongoing discipline very, very complex. Next is the compliance in virtualized environments, or as well in cloud environment. Many organizations are struggling to manage compliance with licenses in virtualized environments, and then at the same time, they as well, especially if they really try to do it right, they start struggling with the costs. Simply, there is no then those expected benefits of the virtualization and cloud computing, which is in fact to have decreased costs. What's going on? Well, we know that software licenses typically give users rights to use software in a certain circumstances, but typically when we start using it in a different environment, let's say virtualized, typically we will need additional licenses. And this is something that comes very often as a surprise. Right to run software anywhere on demand can be very expensive. Still too often licenses are tied to hardware, which means, well, typically I have to buy a license for every server or processor I'm running. Next is vendor audits. Well, I mentioned that a little bit in the beginning. Most common auditing vendors, IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, followed by Adobe, VMware, and so on and so on. It's clear we have to be, well, every organization has to be sufficiently prepared for an audit. We should never ever have a plan when we receive that brief from vendor. We will well provide them with the raw data. Most probably we will end up in purchasing additional licenses. That means that the vendor will prove our in compliance. I have then the fifth here driver, which is maybe subcategory of the first of the too high costs on software. What we really see that too many organizations are renewing enterprise license agreements, maintenance contracts without negotiating. That it's sometimes easier for procurement, that it's easier for organization to negotiate budgets than to really fully understand what software, what licenses they own, and whether everything is used, whether they need that software. And this is definitely, again, preventing organization on decreasing overall costs of IT. What exactly is software asset management? There are many definitions, ITIL, Wikipedia, and so on. However, we can say effectively That's the implementation of specific functions across the full software asset lifecycle with the goal of reducing cost and risk. We have licenses that we purchased, we have software that we are using, that's installed, and we have our needs. And clearly, objective is well, to reduce the risk that we are not in compliance. However, just to use what we have purchased and what we need. That means to reduce the cost. Almost every IT department has some form of SAM in place. There are very often wide gaps. This is what I put in a purple frame. There are things that are easier for IT to do routinely, and there is a stuff where definitely challenges are. Well, if activities which are in this purple box, if they are not regularly done, that will then really prevent organization from attaining the objectives of reducing risk and cost. Very shortly, 3 most common scenarios why organizations are putting SAM program in place. Renewal of ELAs, renewal of maintenance contracts, and for this we must understand what licenses we have, what we are using in order to negotiate from that vantage point, from the point of knowledge. And well, very obvious is the vendor audit, ensuring that we are not exposed to legal or reputational consequences, damages. Now, I think, Mary Kay, we are ready for the first quick poll question.
Great. How do you track the effectiveness of your SAM program?
The votes are coming in now. We'll give everyone a little time here to select your options. A few more seconds. Votes are still coming in. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and share the results.
All right, survey says, how do you track the effectiveness of your SAM program? 30% answered savings through fewer license purchases or reusing existing licenses. 13% answered high confidence that we can pass the vendor audit. 23% answered accurate tracking of software installations. 10% answered accurate tracking of purchases. And 23% answered we do not have a SAM program in place.
Okay, thank you, Mary Kay. Very, very interesting answers. Well, I have to say, very aligned what we see in general in industry and as well among our customers. Okay, I will then now continue with my part. Thanks again. What are now the key components? What are the what is needed for the software asset management? Well, there are 4 core processes which we have to understand in order to have a successful SAM initiative. So let's take briefly a look at each one. First is inventory discovery, ongoing discovery. We need to know what software has been deployed, by whom, how often that software is used. Measuring usage is very important. Then, of course, discovery needs to give us additional details, so-called details, such what's the machine, how many processors, how many core processors machine has. It is also important to detect offline devices, because sometimes machines might still have the licenses that could be reused. So it's really a wasting of money if they are simply left on the retired machines. Next is license management. Now, we need to know precisely what software licenses my organization possess. What have we purchased? And equally important is then to understand what's written in licenses. License is agreement. License has terms and conditions. That means what entitlements am I allowed in my organization through the certain license. The first process, ongoing discovery, is the basis for license compliance assessment, but this is not enough. And even if someone is using it as the alone, you can really get the wrong results. We don't need to go into details. You understand. We can discover applications, but really that discovery does not tell us anything how many users is allowed to access, to view, or to do anything with a certain application. The next is internal policies and guidelines. So software asset management is not only about licenses. So, you know, discovery and license management is needed in order that we get compliant with regards to the vendor. On the other side, we also need to be compliant with regards to the own organization. We have some governance policies. We should not overspend. We must have the right software in place in order to support our business. Therefore, there are typically policies which functions are allowed to use certain software. Also, what certain functions are allowed, what type of actions they are allowed to execute, who is allowed to install software, to deinstall, to patch. These days, when we talk about mobile applications, we are talking about authorized downloads and how we are tracking the purchase records and so on. So this is a very, very important third part of the SAM. And now we are coming to the compliance management. This is where a reconciliation is happening. That means reconciliation for inventory against license entitlement data. Status, well, compliant, over licensed, under licensed, and depending on the status, every organization that needs to decide what action to take. Especially when we are talking about the shortage, that means shall we purchase additional licenses, shall we deinstall some parts of the software, and when we take into account applying internal policies, that means detecting potentially users using software that they are not entitled to. Also applying downgrade, upgrade rules, and many other rules. We can then really talk about the optimization of licenses in our environment. So this is the what SAM must have, or the big framework. Now I'm coming to HP Software Asset Management Solution. Our solution addresses all four processes and automates all four processes that we just saw on our previous slide. That means HP SAM solution includes discovery of software instances. We have our own HP native discovery tool. It is called HP Universal Discovery product. This is the product that's Oracle License Service certified. Nicholas is going to talk much more about that. That means if you get the invitation from Oracle for the audit discovery part done using our Universal Discovery for Oracle License Service, these results will be accepted by Oracle, which significantly then reduces the time needed for the audit. However, I also have to say that our solution, we can take discovery data from many other third-party discovery tools. That means discovery is used to continuously discover all installed software. HP SAM software performs business slicing, dicing of these discovered data, and will give you insight you need for the entitlements, actual usage, costs, and compliance. So you remember that the second process on the previous slide was the license management. We are automating it through our part of our solution is contract management. We can manage, we can track, we can manage any kind of your contracts, purchase, license, maintenance contracts. And the last part is the reconciliation of inventory versus license entitlements. Our solution automates compliance. Now you might be asking how it's how is all this done? We are providing the content package, so-called best practice package for SAM. For our customers, it's for free. It's released frequently, sometimes bi-monthly, sometimes quarterly. This package contains standard terms and conditions for over 900 software titles and versions. And we are supporting various license models. We are also coming with a huge SKU library today, 5,000 SKU licenses. Very soon, we are going to increase it up to the 100,000. Nicolas is again, he's going to talk much more in detail about that. You might be asking, okay, what are now these 900 software titles and versions? Well, this is the software from various vendors, and for example, from IBM, from Oracle, Microsoft, from Adobe, from SAP, Sybase, VMware, VMC, etc. We think that typically 60 to 80% of software that usually you might be using, we are covering with our best practice package. Briefly, you saw here two screenshots from our solution. For example, one very simple report about compliance on your Oracle databases, and then you can always drill down to see the details of your, for example, in this case, in compliance, we are always as well providing the costs of the compliance or in compliance. We are supporting many complex licensing models. Just for the sake of brevity and to keep it on a single slide, I've decided very shortly to just put some examples of the three vendors. For example, we are supporting Oracle Processor Core table values. We do have predefined in our product, and as Oracle is changing these values, we are updating through our best practice package, named user class, various licensing models for Microsoft. Our solution can help you track the products that are PVU based and reconcile the installed quantities against the required quantities using IBM's PVU table. If you're using these products in a virtual environment under IBM subcapacity model, we can help you apply specific terms and conditions. And then as well, we have some general rules across the vendors, for example, automatically to apply the upgrade, downgrade rights, to track the multiple versions usage, and to track and to inform you in advance about the maintenance renewals that are due. What are some key benefits of HP SAM solution? Maybe the most important is really attaining automated and proactive software license compliance. It's about really truly understanding your license position and according to that to take appropriate action, either to purchase needed licenses or to deinstall some of your software. Now, from this you can then, that means once when you understand what you are using, what you have purchased, what is unused, what you need, you can then really plan much better. You can then avoid over-purchasing as well as the under-purchasing. We are tracking and applying both entitlements and usage. We are applying the rights to upgrade, to downgrade, and once you understand your pool of available unused licenses, you can then maybe try to go back to vendor and try to negotiate or to cancel maintenance costs for the unneeded and unused software. Now, you might be thinking, okay, you are expecting vendor audit maybe in the next 2-3 months. Even if you would like, you won't have a time to implement, but I'm just talking on about our solution. For such cases, we are offering Software Asset Insight service. This is the service where our professional services would would do the internal audit on behalf of you. For example, for a certain vendor, let's say for Oracle, or maybe just for a certain product, let's say DB2 from the IBM. Important is you don't need to purchase any software or to provision any hardware. They are using so-called term licenses. They are using our discovery tool to discover your installed base, and the rest is software in a box. That means just to provide you the compliance reports. You might be also now asking, okay, how long does it take? Of course, the answer is it depends. However, I can also tell you, in general, they are always trying to finish this engagement in a month or two. Very briefly, just one illustration of our customer success. After implementing our SAM solution, this very, very famous and large US-based leading pharmaceuticals and health IT provider, they realized that they didn't need to purchase licenses in worth of $1 million. They also were able to enforce different policies through HP SAM. HP SAM, we are part of the bigger S Manager solution. So first of all, this customer, they were able to centralize procurement and to enforce the policy that anything that's not purchased through the centralized procurement can't be reimbursed. Secondly, they were able to enforce the policy that tells software not in use for 90 days. Licenses are revoked from the user and will be reassigned to someone else. Even though they are large and distributed organization, they have now centralized audit coordination for both for hardware and software assets. They are regularly really using reharvesting, reusage of the licenses, and for them what's very important that each stakeholder has a financial view of compliance. Even they can give these views even to business users. I'm going to finish my part with one information or maybe news for you. If you haven't heard, well, Gartner, beginning of April, they published the market scope for ITS management repository, and as you can see, HP, we are again rated positive, this time just one of the two vendors. If you are interested to read the full report, you can download from our S Management webpage, hp.com/go/item software. With having said this, I will, well, thank you very much for your attention, and I will pass it over to Nicolas.
Thank you, Vesna. Thank you very much. So Vesna introduced you what software asset management is and what are the processes, what it means, how important it is to get control over the software purchase and the deployment. We are going to see together in a very focused example around Oracle how good software asset management can translate into savings. So let's move forward and move to the next step, to the next slide. We will start with a second poll, which is quite brief to answer. So have you ever failed Oracle compliance audit? If you could please give the answer, and that will give a context around, how often Oracle is auditing and what type of result it gives.
Votes are still coming in. We'll give you a few more seconds here until it looks like most of you have voted here. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. Nicholas?
Okay, have you ever failed an Oracle compliance audit? 37% answered no, never. 19% answered yes. And 44% said we're not concerned with Oracle audits.
So, one interesting figure is to see that 55% of the customer or of the people on this webinar are concerned by Oracle audits. So it means a large amount of people have been involved in an audit, and that's a good thing to see that some of the people were not impacted, but 20% still failed. So what we're going to see together is how. Okay, show my screen. So what we're going to see together is how Asset Manager and the HP product will help you to be prepared to go through an audit, and how you can save money through a good control over your software compliance. So I am sharing my screen now, my full screen, and okay. So normally you should see correctly the presentation I'm showing.
Yes, we can see it. It looks good.
Okay. So let's move forward. So let's start with concrete examples of savings knowing that I'm going to talk about Oracle later, but I'm going here to talk about various vendors, Microsoft and Oracle. So if we take the first example, one Oracle core factor license costs $47,000. That's the official price list. You may get a discount on top of that, but we're talking about a very expensive application here. It's interesting to see that Oracle has complex rules around virtualization technologies. For instance, if you are running your Oracle server on a soft partitioning virtualization technology, such as a VMware, you need to license all the cores of the physical host. The physical host being either a physical server or a cluster if you are using, for instance, VMware and a vCenter architecture. So we have an example that we know of a company moving that had moved an Oracle instance from a VM or in a VM from a cluster to another using vMotion in a failover situation. And that's a true story, so maybe the numbers are not exact, but that's a true story that may have happened a lot. They moved from a cluster that had 10 cores to another one that was more powerful with 30 cores. Of course, the database in a new environment worked very well. Nobody complained about the performance, and they just forgot to move it back to the initial cluster. And they got an audit, and just making, that's where my figure is maybe not exact, just making the 20 cores they overused multiplied by the price of a core factor license, they had an audit fee of more than $900,000. So a little change that is not controlled without a software asset management process that would raise a warning on the cost of moving the machine, the virtual machine, or on the uncompliance that it creates, can result into a very big spending in an audit, for instance. So that's the first example I wanted to give. Another example is around Windows Enterprise Server. You can, when you deploy Windows Enterprise Edition, you can deploy up to 4 VMs on the physical host. So very simply, if you deploy a 5th VM on this physical host, you will need to have it licensed with a full Windows Server Enterprise Edition license, which is a cost of $2,000 if we take an average 1 to 8 processor license. So that's the second example where not controlling how you deploy your infrastructure against the licensing rules may have a cost, and you need a tool, and Asset Manager and Universal Discovery helps you getting control over this. And the last example is quite common. It's about Visio. One license costs $150. And it's very often that tens of users will have installed it just to open a Visio file, while they could have just installed the viewer. And very quickly you can reach something like $20,000 to $1,000 of overspend, because 150 people over the organization install Visio and are nearly never using it. So again, having a good control of the software deployments, and you will see Asset Manager allows to track any deployments, translate it into the number of points you have to pay in terms of licenses, and also gives you the information on how often the application has been used. So the compliance report includes the usage information that would obviously show that these Visio users are not using Visio, and you could afterwards potentially remove the applications that have been deployed such a way. So let's drill down into more details. Vesna gave you the introduction. Here I'm going to detail a little bit how the HP tools provide the support to your software asset management processes. So HP Universal Discovery is the discovery tool of HP that can do multiple things. It can inventory the deployed applications. So UD has a huge software library that will recognize the applications based on the file signature. That's the first thing. Inventory discovery of the deployed applications. UD will discover the host attributes, such as what operating system version, what is the CPU type, how many CPUs, how many cores, disk space, and so on. And in addition to this inventory and very detailed inventory information, Universal Discovery will discover the topology of your infrastructure. So we have on the right an example of a cluster that has been discovered by UD. UD is able to really discover, all the physical and virtual hosts, to discover what are the links between the virtual host and the physical host, for instance, and also the links between applications within business services. So you really get with UD the big picture, which is a map, the topology of your infrastructure, and the very details of your deployments and your host attribute, which is the inventory piece. So UD has very good ratings by all analysts, and has been and is now Oracle LMS verified, which means that UD discovers the Oracle servers the way Oracle expects it. So if you have an audit, and that's what Vesna said, if you have an audit, you can just export the data from UD. Oracle will trust the UD inventory data. We will drill down into what it means during an example. On the other side, asset manager will store the inventory data. So we'll take the data from UD. We'll manage a license lifecycle and the contracts for the licenses, so to keep track of your license entitlements. And we'll run the software compliance work, which means being able to reconcile the licenses with the deployments according to the publisher's licensing rules, with the usage or the internal policy, asset manager will include a third dimension, which is comparing what has been deployed with what has been authorized with internal policies. Again, asset manager gets good ratings by analysts. You saw Gartner. We also have software asset management studies that show asset manager giving a top ranking. So not only asset manager is a good tool for managing multiple processes around procurement, contract management, software asset management, and financial management, but asset manager is very good in addressing a very detailed way software asset management. And finally, asset manager has been certified against, ISO 19771. So we have a certificate that measured the processes in asset manager against these ISO processes. So to give the picture now, it's the same thing than what I explained in the previous slide, but more visual probably. You will see on the left, UD will discover the deployed infrastructure and will populate asset manager that you see on the right. Asset manager will store this inventory data. We store the internal policies data and who is allowed to use what application. We store the licenses and the contracts. Typically, the maintenance contracts are very important for a license because it allows to upgrade the license to the latest version. And asset manager will do this compliance work that you see on the top, which consists in making sometimes sophisticated reconciliation between the deployments and the procured licenses and the internal policies. If we summarize, let's now explain that the SAM best practice package is the way we provide the out-of-the-box rules for managing various publishers' applications and reconciliation. The SAM best practice package has a SKU library, which basically allows to normalize the license data with a SKU number, which is the reference of an application or the license. Asset manager will be able to give you the title of the application that very often the procurement tools don't have. So asset manager can normalize today for 4,000 titles, and actually very soon, the next release that is coming will include 300,000 SKUs. So we're extending a lot this SKU library. We have a software library that comes from Universal Discovery that allows to map the software titles or the software signatures with a normalized title. And we have a reconciliation library in Asset Manager that will allow to reconcile the license titles with the software titles, and that has a licensing library, so we will reconcile that the right way. I mean, we will count the number of deployments if it's for Adobe. We will count the number of core factors if it's for Oracle, and we are going to see in details how it works. So we have this reconciliation library that will put together the license data, the inventory data in the right way. And of course, we have a set of reports and processes that will support this software asset management activity, and that come with this package that you can import every quarter into your asset manager production system without having to upgrade the platform. So let's have a focus now on Oracle, and I'm going to do a brief demo. So Oracle, let's take this use case. We have a use case where the Oracle databases that you see on the top left are discovered by Universal Discovery. So Universal Discovery will basically send the queries to the servers that are the queries that Oracle gave us. So we worked with Oracle to build a series of queries that will retrieve the inventory data. And these queries will retrieve information such as what is the edition, what is the version of the server, what are the deployed options, how many active accounts are on the server. So UD will collect all this information and will store it in the UCMDB database, which is the CMDB of HP. UCMDB will store the data and will be able to export to Oracle all the files that are the Oracle verified, LMS verified files in case of audits. And UD will also, or UCMDB will also push the data to Asset Manager. And the big thing is, with UD you get the inventory data, the best of breed information on the Oracle servers, but you need to do the same job as the one Oracle will do during an audit. You need to do the compliance report on top of this, which is using the Oracle licensing rules, for instance, for the core factor licenses. So we are going to have an example on this specific licensing. Just before I start the demo, the Oracle licensing is complex. You have multiple types of licensing. One which is a per named user plus. So what counts is actually who accesses the database directly or indirectly. So when you purchase a new Oracle license, you can decide either to license your server with the named user plus licensing, which means that you know who is accessing the server. Given the number of users, it will be less expensive to license the users than the server. And you are going to pay something like $900 per named user plus for the Oracle edition. And that's the first way you can license the server. The other way you can license the server is when you don't know how many users will access the server, or when you don't know how many users will access it indirectly. Indeed, the multiplexing, you may have a unique Oracle account. You may have 20 users using this account to access the database. So that the second way you can license your server, it's using the core factor rule, which is including several rules. So there is a mapping between the CPU types and factors. You have some CPUs which are more powerful, that have a bigger factor than some other CPU types. Once you have this core factor mapping, you need to use a second rule, which is the virtualization. If you are using Solaris zones or LPARs, you can count the number of cores of the VM to conclude how many licenses you have to procure. If you're using a soft partitioning technology, such as VMware, you need to take into account the number of cores of your physical host. Okay, and I will not go through all the rules from Oracle, but just be aware that the standard and standard 1 editions of Oracle have a per socket, a per occupied socket metric to count how many licenses you have to procure to deploy the servers. So let's move forward and let's do a demo. So the first part is Universal Discovery will discover a cluster, an Oracle cluster. So here is just a screenshot of an example of cluster that has been discovered by UD. You see here, you have the cluster on the top. You have virtualization layer that will link to virtual machines. And to take one of the examples, one of these virtual machines actually has two Oracle instances that you see on the bottom. So UD is able to discover all the stages of your IT infrastructure. It will discover the cluster. It will discover what are the physical hosts which are supporting the cluster. So you can here understand how many cores and how many CPUs in total you have for this cluster. And it allows to discover the virtual machine layers as well as the very details of the Oracle instances that have been deployed. So we are going to start from this, and I'm going to show in Asset Manager how this verified inventory data is converted into software compliance and license liability. So I'm going to log to Asset Manager, and actually I'm already logged to Asset Manager. So here is the SAM dashboard, Software Asset Management Global Dashboard, and we will start with the global view before drilling down into Oracle. So Asset Manager will track, the procured licenses, and will be able to give you how many deployments, how many licenses, you have procured, and for what cost. So Asset Manager will store all the information on the licenses, and will give you, for instance, for these Oracle licenses, Asset Manager will give you the details on what licenses have been procured, how many licenses, and if you drill down on the license, you will get all the details, what is the cost, who is using it, and so on. So that the first view and the first thing that Asset Manager allows to manage your licenses and report on the costs associated to these licenses. The second piece that we are going to drill down on is the software compliance. Software compliance is the discipline of reconciling the deployments with the procured licenses. So Asset Manager will do the job of title by title, counting how many deployments have been deployed in your infrastructure and how many licenses have been procured. And Asset Manager will give you the aggregated view, vendor by vendor. So Asset Manager will tell you if you're under compliance, which is the case for Microsoft, globally, given all the software counters. The piece that measures the compliance is called the software counter. Given all the software counters we have today, if we make the sum of the cost of compliance for each software counter, Microsoft appears to be under compliance. While here you see that globally you are spending too much on Oracle because if you take each of the titles which are covered by the compliance, if you compute your compliance for the title, but more interestingly the cost for compliance, how much you should spend to be back compliant for this title, Asset Manager will make the sum at publisher level and will tell you that you are, for instance, massively over-compliant for Oracle. So that's the global view that you have. And then Asset Manager gives you the view title by title and version by version. So we are going to drill down on one example. But here you can understand what are the top 15 applications at risk. So you saw you were over-compliant globally with Oracle, but there is still, Oracle 11G where you are under compliance. So Asset Manager will give you the second level information, which is title by title, what is your compliance on the various applications and versions, and what are the top 15 applications at risk, as well as the top overspending applications. And if we go down in this dashboard, Asset Manager will give you the view on how well you are covering your compliance. How many titles have been deployed? How many titles are monitored by the software counters? So you can see here that not only Microsoft is negative, but you see that Microsoft has a poor coverage in terms of software compliance reports. So very quickly, you can create your own additional counters because you procured a lot of Microsoft applications, and despite the 900 titles which are by HP, by Asset Manager, you may have to create additional counters to make sure that you're monitoring completely your software asset management compliance. And the last report we see here is showing a proactive dashboard of the maintenance and license renewals over the next 12 months. So you see publisher by publisher, which are the contracts that have to be renewed this month. So you may have to take an action. And from there, you can, of course, open the contracts and run a wizard, for instance, that allows to renew a maintenance contract. So we are going to drill down into Oracle. And let's have a look to Oracle 11G. So Oracle 11G, that here, is under compliance. And clicking on this, I will open the detail of Oracle 11G of the software counter. I'm going to go full screen. You see here the detail of the counter that shows that you have 120 licenses Basically, the counter says retrieve all licenses which are of an Oracle 11g title. You see that you have 134 deployments, which is, Asset Manager, I will show you, is counting the number of Oracle servers and is applying the Oracle cost factor rule. And you see here that your compliance, very simply, is the difference between both. So it's minus 14. But you see here this information, which is adding a dimension. The cost for compliance is actually $500,000, which means that you are not compliant for a small number, but it represents a big amount that you should address. So you can from here see the sub-corporate compliance. Cost center by cost center, you will know how many licenses you have, how many deployments have been done, and possibly how many authorizations. We were talking about the internal policies. So here we're not managing the authorization, but you could compare how many authorizations you have, as well as the number of unused installations. You can, from the software counter, determine what are the applications you want to flag to be appearing as not used. And I will go quicker because I have to finish. Quickly. So we saw the details. We saw the corporate compliance. We saw the sub-corporate compliance. And the very last level you can go to is the analysis of your Oracle deployments. So here, Asset Manager will give you, for the various versions of Oracle, the compliance. You see here the number of writes, number of deployments, the compliance version by version, and the compliance after downgrade. So here you see that you were negative on 11G, so 11G cannot give writes down to 10G. You see here also the cost for compliance for the various versions of Oracle. And if you go down the list, you will see the very details on your Oracle infrastructure. So you see here that there is one cluster that has 1, 2, 3 physical hosts. You see the number of cores for each of them. And Asset Manager will show you how you have and what you have to pay for this deployment, for instance, which is on a virtual machine, on a VMware virtual machine. Asset Manager will take, the number of cores of the cluster, because it is a soft partitioning technology. Asset Manager stores all the technology according to Oracle rule. It will take the number of cores of the cluster multiplied by the power factor of the virtual machine, which gives you the number of installation points you have to pay. Asset Manager will do the job for each of the deployments, so you can very quickly understand. How many deployments or what are the most expensive deployments you have to pay for. For instance, here Asset Manager will see that if you have 10G and 11G deployed, you don't need to license both versions of the application on the same server. You just need to license the number of cores for the 11G version. So that the first vision you get a very detailed view on where you deployed Oracle and what it is meaning in terms of Oracle points and also in terms of money, of license money. And you can focus, $1 million, probably you will need to understand what's happening and what is managed on this server, given the fact it's very expensive in terms of Oracle licenses. If I click on this View Optimization button, Asset Manager will filter the down list just to show the cases where you underuse your cluster infrastructure. So Asset Manager basically makes, the calculation, which is if you have a soft partitioning technology on the cluster, Asset Manager will make the sum of the cores of the virtual machines. So here we have one VM with 12 cores and one VM with 18 cores. So 30 cores here are deployed with Oracle, and you are paying actually for 36. So Asset Manager, cluster by cluster, will identify where you are underusing the infrastructure and will basically make the sum of the cores that you are paying for but not using. So here, it was 6 cores, for instance. On the bottom, it's 34 cores because you have 36 cores here, and you just use 2 cores with 1 VM. So Asset Manager will give you the number on the top, which is you could save 40 cores, which means $800,000. So that's what I wanted to show for today. yes, you have a view now on how asset manager will do the compliance, give the big picture, but also give all the information on the details, given all these pre-embedded calculation rules of Oracle, for instance, but we do the same job with IBM PVU or any other publisher. Thank you, and I will pass it back to Daniel for the last part.
Would you like to run the poll, the next poll, before we
Yes.
continue, Nicholas? Okay. I'm going to launch that now.
So, yeah, there is a last poll, which is, do you consider software licensing costs as part of your virtualization strategy? So, if you include it in what you do, and if you have a big attention to this virtualization topic, answer yes. Otherwise, if you are just managing a little bit more proactive way, you can reply no.
All right. I think most everyone has voted here, responded. So I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results.
So do you consider software licensing costs as part of your virtualization strategy? 85% said yes, and 15% said no.
Okay. So good awareness on this topic. Now you need the tool. It's important to include virtualization in the way you make your deployments. It's even more important to have the tools that allow to measure the impact of virtualization on your license liability. Thank you for the answer.
And thanks, Nicola. That was great. So I'm going to talk about a third part, which is a cloud chargeback. Okay, this is poll number 2. Vesna, I need to drop down and go a few slides down.
Just a moment.
To my section. Thank you. So we'll be talking about the chargeback, and I'll talk a little bit about what is the service chargeback definition, what are drivers for it, and end it with our solution for chargeback. So I do have a poll at the beginning as well. So if you can answer these questions, they'll help us get better context.
Give everyone a few more seconds to get your response in before we close the poll. So thank you. And here are the results.
So do you centrally manage public cloud service subscriptions? 4% said yes, 8% said no, 24% said we only use private cloud services, 64% said we do not use any cloud services yet.
Okay, and this is fairly typical survey result. That's what I'm seeing. Cloud services are something that is thought to be ahead of us, where in fact it's actually a lot closer than you think, and I think the usage of cloud services might be much more widespread than you think. So let's get back to the presentation, and I'll talk more about this because that's very, very interesting. Vesna, can you share the slides again? Thank you. So first of all, what is service chargeback? And I was thinking about writing my definition, but I decided, well, let's do a search, and of course Wikipedia came to rescue. So IT chargeback and IT showback, which is basically a report saying this is what it would have cost you if we were charging you, are two policies used by IT departments to allocate and or bill the costs associated with each department's or division's usage. The concept is not new by any means. This is an accounting practice. We have customers that have been doing chargeback for many, many years. One customer that I'm quite familiar with, they might even be using chargeback for more than 10 years for their desktop service. So every department has to pay a charge based on what type of hardware they have. So is it desktop, laptop, what is the model, what software they have on that device on a monthly basis. And that they've been using our solution for many years, and they've been very, very successful with it. So the concept itself isn't very new, but oftentimes it hasn't been, its use hasn't been widespread. It might be limited to certain things. And I think as we're going into cloud services and getting more of that service orientation in IT, chargeback needs to become much more prevalent, and virtually every organization needs to adopt it. The showback is actually a way by which you can actually take a step towards doing chargeback. When I talk to customers, some customers are saying, look, our organization's not ready. There's no way that we could get away with doing chargeback. So maybe what you can do is start with a showback saying, you're using a desktop, you're using a laptop, or you're using these applications. Here is how much this is really costing. So this is a way of maybe starting everybody thinking about it. So let's go to the next slide. And talk about drivers for cloud adoption. So again, this is part of service orientation. Cloud is the common term. I don't think there is anything necessarily special about the word cloud. But it is a common term. It's helping everybody understands what a cloud service means, cloud offering means. Now, so let's take a look at CIO view, and this is from a survey from Gartner. And if we look at the top business priorities for CIOs, so this is Chief Information Officer, and it's not about just running IT, although obviously that's there. But the number one priority is increase enterprise growth. This is a business goal. This is not a technical IT goal. IT has the ability to actually help enterprises grow, get bigger. You need to provide operational resources. You need to help reduce costs. You need to help the bottom line. So you grow the top line, your revenue line, and you help reduce your costs so you can improve profitability. Attracting, retaining new customers. What? IT is in charge of getting new customers, new sales to the organization? Yeah, of course. I mean, we all go to websites, and if the website's easy to use, easy to navigate, we'll go back to it. We're more likely to buy things. So IT isn't just that internal service organization that's just a cost that everybody has to live with. It is a business partner. Then when we look at the metrics, again, revenue growth, market share, time to market, there's very little here that says, response time for the home page for our organization of less than 10 milliseconds with a load of 1,000 users trying to access it at the same time. None of it is here. It's all very much business oriented. And with cloud, we're really starting to think more about speeding the innovation and growth of business, enhancing the agility of business, and improving our efficiency. So let's talk a little bit more about those three benefits in the next slide. So when we're enhancing business agility, again, where does the chargeback play into it? And it plays into it because it allows you to actually offer a variety of services at price points that meet your customers' needs. So there has to be responsibility. I can't go and say, you know what, I'm delivering email to everyone within my organization, but it's going to cost you $1,000 a month per user because we have such huge infrastructure. If you went to any department in the organization and said it's going to cost you $1,000 a month to have email, corporate email, I bet you that each one of those managers or VPs is going to say, you know what, I'm just going to get Outlook.com or Gmail or something like that because they're much more appropriate from a price perspective to me. I can't afford that much money for it. So it allows you to, through a chargeback, you put out a charge, you get a response from the business, and you can see how you need to tailor it in order to to balance the cost versus value. And that really drives into that second point. Once you establish cost and track costs, you can make sure that you're running your services efficiently and economically, and you can compare it to external service providers. And again, we are lucky that we have a very large, very good customer base, lots of large enterprise customers using our products. And again, one of the telecommunications companies that's our customer, they actually had a case where Google went to the CIO of that company and said, hey, look, we're going to provide you Gmail service. It's going to cost you, $50 a year per user. And CIO goes, well, okay, well, let me call my guys and see if that's good or not. So he called the IT manager in charge of asset management and said, look, Google came in here and they're pitching $50 a user per year for their Gmail service. How much is it costing us to run Outlook infrastructure today? Well, so the IT manager, because they are fairly advanced, they actually track managed services, so he could pull up information about the email service, and he said, well, today our cost is $150 per user. So CIO is thinking, great, I can save a lot of money here. But the IT manager said, look, what Gmail's providing is only this part of the overall service, overall email service. And what they're actually replacing is now costing us only $30 a user. So suddenly, the CIO and the IT manager were able to actually have a business conversation in terms of cost-benefit rather than sort of technology-based conversation. Well, we have bigger servers, we have faster response time, things like that. And they were able to come to a business decision, and they said, okay, so Gmail is more expensive. And it's a decision because they are tracking the cost. They're able to actually, I don't know if they're doing full chargeback. I think they're doing at least a showback, so the organization knows. And finally, by having chargeback, you can actually help speed innovation and business growth. You invest where the demand is. So why should you be investing in things that are considered to be low value? Nobody cares about it. You don't spend any time or money on it because nobody's willing to pay you for it. Invest where organization says, wow, this is great. This is providing us with the results. Improve your website. Improve things that help you communicate with your customers, that help accelerate the delivery of the products to the market. If it's something that's really pure back office and it's viewed as low value to the organization, don't invest in that. So chargeback, again, helps you expose that and helps you drive the conversation out of I need bigger servers to sure, we can improve the response time, but here is how much more it will cost you. And then business can come back to you, the line of business can come back to you and say, yes, if you can deliver this result, that's worth it to us. Or they'll say, no, I guess we'll live with what we have. So you change completely the conversation from being sort of the low value service delivery organization to actually business partner for IT. So let's go to the next slide. And I realize I think I'm starting to run out of time myself. So we can actually go through this fairly quickly. So with chargeback, you make departments responsible for their usage. The more they use, the more they're charged. So that may be fine for them, or maybe they'll say, whoa, we're spending too much on this. We need to change our behaviors. So that's the first driver. The second one is organizations have visibility into the IT costs. So IT is in this bucket that everybody has to contribute to and doesn't know what goes on with it. You actually understand exactly what you're getting out of the money that's allocated to IT. So you have a different conversation. You're not just a black hole that all the budget money goes into. You're a business partner. And then the third one is you allow the IT department to track and adapt to demand. Oh, look, our usage rate for this service is really going up. Well, wow, our costs are going down, but nobody seems to be complaining about the cost anyway. Maybe we can invest and support larger infrastructure. You can go to the department saying, look, wow, you're increasing use. Is there value to it? Maybe we can, is there something we can do to help improve this even more, to give you even more value out of it? So this is a great way for you to also track what's going on, how your IT resources are being used. Okay, next slide. And again, talking about more drivers. So cost control and visibility, is preserved when you're moving to cloud services, and you can allow that self-service model. So I, as an end user, can choose to subscribe to something, and I understand how much this is going to cost me. So I can say, is this worth it, yes or no? The costs are allocated based on consumption. If I am the only person using a particular service, and this is running, as Nicholas was showing in his example, a large VMware cluster with Oracle database, do I really want to pay $1 million worth of software costs for Oracle, plus all the other software, plus all the hardware, plus all the maintenance? Is this worth it to me? So I can say no, and then maybe I can say, hey, maybe I can actually go and find cheaper alternatives. And you don't have resources that are sitting. If I'm the only user, do I need to sit on this large cluster? Or can I go to a smaller alternative? Maybe I can go to one of the free databases on a small, 2-core VM on a much smaller cluster. So you can optimize usage of your resources much, much better. Okay, next. Next slide, please. Okay. Oh, sorry. Back up. There is another poll. So let me. We saw the answer to the previous poll. Let's do another poll.
Okay. Do you permit employees to expense public cloud subscriptions, for example, Box.com? Give you just a little bit here to enter your response.
And the answer is 5% answered yes, 41% answered no, and 55% said our IT does not offer cloud services yet.
Okay. So this actually combines with the previous poll that we had. One thing I would say is public cloud service subscription usage is far more widespread than most organizations think. Now, Box.com, hey, I need to share a file with a customer. My FTP is just, the FTP service I can get from my own IT is just too restricted, too hard to do. Let me just throw it up on Box.com. I may be using the free version, and IT isn't aware of it, and that can be dangerous. When I look at it and when I talk to various customers, we're really getting back into that shadow IT again. So we've been working very, very hard for IT to actually gain control of the shadow IT that was established in the 90s with all the Windows servers. So everything's centralized again. We don't have duplication of resources. We're not wasting time and effort. But now comes this cloud where, hey, for $10 a year, I can have this giant Box.com account where I can store and share stuff with my customers. Or, hey, I can go to Amazon Cloud and I can stand up a VM quickly so I can have a nice demo environment for my customers. You may not be aware those things are happening, but believe me, those things are happening today. What IT really needs to do is, as quickly as possible, transition and say, look, we need to control these services. And this is where asset management comes in. And if you're looking at public cloud services, really the only thing that you have in here is the contract. And so what IT needs to do is just figure out how to quickly and easily make it easier for customers, for your internal users, to come to you, to IT department, to say, hey, I need a Box.com account, than it is for that person to go to Box.com and sign up for it themselves. Not allowing them to expense it is one good way of doing it, because eventually I may get tired of paying for something that I'm using for work, and if there is an alternative, I'll take the alternative because, hey, it's free, it's cheaper for me. So you really should look at it, and you should start centralizing those contracts. The other thing that you'll get is much better rates. So if I go and sign up to Box.com, I'm paying $10 a month. If you sign up an account, global account with Box.com, that costs maybe $2 a user. So you can actually save a lot of money that way as well. So it's something you really need to look at, and I know the use of it is much wider spread than you think. Okay, let's go next slide. And I'll try to wrap up the next couple of minutes because I think we're running very, very late. So what's our solution for chargeback? This is the last topic that we have. So part of Asset Manager, we have chargeback capabilities. And what we're seeing is sort of the top of this diagram where you have the cloud fulfillment solution. That solution typically has a catalog, so users can actually go to a self-service catalog, see a list of available services, and say, yes, I want this one. And typically part of service offering is they see a price. I'm going to be charged X amount of dollars per month, per megabyte, however the catalog wants to be set up. The cloud fulfillment solution actually automates standing up of that VM once it's been requested for the catalog. And where Asset Manager comes in is it'll actually take the subscription and consumption information from that fulfillment solution into Asset Manager, and then able to calculate the charges and do either showback or chargeback to the user or to the department of the user. So we're trying to automate this as much as possible. Next slide, please. And we're trying to do it. In a very simple way, and we have a solution that's focused strictly on the chargeback and showback. So we would just want to say, here is how much this is costing you, and whether we actually go into the budgetary charge or just show you the report, that's all you see. From an end user perspective, or the department manager, you can still have cost control. So you can enter your budget. You can have budget warnings so that you get warned before you exceed thresholds. You're not spending too much money. You can, if everybody's signing up and using a lot of it, you can actually track that and say, hey, why we're using so much of it? Is it useful, so that we need to request additional budget for it? And of course, we focused on great user experience, so providing you everything out of the box with little or no configuration, all the dashboards, all the reports visible to you, all the warnings. You just have to establish the threshold rule. Next slide, please. The other things that we did, as much as we provide very simple interface, Asset Manager is not the budgetary system. So we have integration with the financial systems, like SAP or Oracle financial systems, so that you can actually take that information, that charge, and transfer it to the system that actually performs the budgetary adjustments. Of course, as much as we have a solution that allows you to do just chargeback, you can expand it, or you can incorporate it as part of your overall IT asset management, and that's really the best. If you think where you need to go with cloud services, you need to have accurate input data in order to establish accurate costs. So Asset Manager carries with it hardware costs, maintenance costs, software costs. So you can actually, if you have all that data, you can better model your services, better understand how much you need to charge for them. Next slide, please. So in summary, with service chargeback, you can recover your costs associated with delivery of services. You can provide those services at rates that are competitive because guess what? The consuming departments will tell you, I'm not paying this much because I can go out there in the public cloud and get it for, tenths of the price. You can track customer demand, invest where you see the demand from your customers. So don't start up with giant infrastructure because you think the demand might be there. You can flex up as you need to go. So start small economically and then expand as you're seeing the demand. And really, when you're doing the chargeback, and everybody, when they're talking to you, they're talking about price and value. They're not talking. You become much more valuable business partner. And you can. And at the beginning, we talked when I showed you the CIO goals. They're about growing revenues, attracting more customers, and then controlling costs. So it's not just about IT costs. It's about helping the company get bigger. Okay. And now we just have like a brief conclusion slide. So if you go next slide, please. So we have to end with this: why HP for IT asset management? Again, as we showed earlier in the presentation, our HP Asset Manager is recognized as a leading asset management solution by various industry analysts. We showed you the Gartner report, but if you go and talk to Forrester, EMA, we have a very, very strong reputation as a system that has a broad and deep capabilities across the asset management disciplines. We are proven. We have a very large 1,000-plus customer install base, and those are all large enterprise customers. We have more than 20 years of experience, both in the product organization as well as in our delivery organization. So we actually have a discipline around asset management. We understand what asset management is. We can take you on the journey from basic asset tracking to full proactive asset management. Okay. And I think that's the last slide. So I think we'll open it up to questions.
Great. Well, that was very thorough content. We have just a couple of questions today and just a couple of minutes left. The first question is Universal Discovery for Oracle licensing an additional cost, or is it included in the core Universal Discovery?
Yes, so I can take this question. So the Universal Discovery LMS module is an additional module that comes on top of UD full. So that I engage you to contact your sales representative, but this is an additional module that brings the Oracle Discovery on top of the other discoveries that UD performed.
Okay. And the next and the last question is, where can we find training on using the SAMPAC wizard for configuring software modules? We've actually had a harder time finding training on the user side of the house.
Yeah, so there are some. What you could do is contact me, and we have what we call the practitioner forum, the ITAM practitioner forum. Every month we have calls where we invite customers, so maybe the person who asked was not invited, and we record these trainings, and what we can do as a follow-up is provide you the link to the HP Live Network training material section, where we have all the recordings, and there are 3 recordings actually on software asset management, one which is on software asset management, the value, so it's a 90-minute demo and presentation, one which is a technical drill down and implementation of the SAM package. That's the second training, which is a recording. And the last one is on Oracle LMS Discovery and managing the software compliance for Oracle. So definitely, if you go to HP Live Network, to the Asset Manager business content, and best is to capture the link and provide it to you, you can access all these online trainings.
Great. Well, Vesna, Nicholas, Daniel, I'd like to thank you for bringing content today to the HP Service Management SIG. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.